Hi everybody, welcome back to the Wonder of Anime YouTube channel. I am Lisa and we're jumping right into this video. This is video 3 of my Clamp Reread series. I'll be sure to link the playlist and the previous videos here, but I am so excited. This, like I mentioned in my last video, from here on out, it gets good, it gets juicy. We are just ready. We're ready for it. As y'all know, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the summary for each volumes as they are in the book. And I did mention, before I jump in, I did mention this in my last video. I mentioned in video 1 how my first volume just completely fell apart. This volume, when I first opened it, was looking kind of scary. I saw the seams. I opened it too much and I don't know, they're just very tightly bound. I did, you can kind of see it here. I did afterwards read it very, very carefully as to not fall apart. So luckily nothing came apart, but the chances are there. So I'm going to jump into the summary. This volume contains volume 7, 8, and 9. Now, I didn't make these quick summaries because just so much happens. And for me, all of that information was just super, super important. Volume 7, where we last left off in volume 6, Fuma, Kamui, they're at the house. Kotori's, I don't know, she in another room. Tokiko comes in. She's all bloody. She is basically at her death and she gives birth to the sacred sword. After she gives birth to the sacred sword, she completely is in pieces and her spirit comes out that is visible, and her spirit tells Kamui that he needs to take the sacred sword to the Clamp School campus where it's gonna be there till the day. Out of nowhere, obviously because this is her own home, Kotori comes through and has this completely dramatic flashback to the events with her mom passing away, because she saw her mom also blown to bits giving birth by the sword, but through something, her dad and Fuma kind of were like, girl, you didn't see that. Your mom was sick. She just died. So she has these repressed memories from her mom where this scene with Tokiko completely just triggers her into a state, and she actually ends up going into a dream state. So in that dream state, she is in a sea and she meets her mom, and her mom is in the form of a mermaid, and her mom, oh, this is so exciting to me because I completely forgot about this. So when I read it, I was like, oh my god, yes. So her mom tells her that she died in place of Kamui's mom, and that she's actually only ever been in love with Kamui's mom. She's been in love with Kamui's mom since high school, and she married Fuma and Kotori's dad only to be at the location that was needed for the sacred sword to be born. Talk about ouch. Kotori is sad. She starts drowning in the sea, and it turns out she's in the Sea of Tears. So she's rescued by some mysterious person who we learn to be Kakio, who is like a dream seer. He navigates dreams, but I feel like, and I'll touch up on this a little bit later, he's very different from Hanoto and Kano. He tells, they start talking, and he tells Kotori that she got to go back, and that the Nakano district is about to fall apart and be destroyed in Tokyo. So she comes back. Mind you, while she's out of it, Fuma's possessed again. And he is holding, at first, when Kotori comes out, he's holding Kamui back, to leave her alone. And then he, in his possessed state, tells Kamui that the time for a choice to be made is coming too. So then both him and Kotori come back, but then Kotori's acting super strange. She's in this childlike mentality. She tells him hey, my friend just told me that Nakano is about to fall apart, that she saw the mom. And then she also gets really serious but also loopy and says that Kamui has a twin star. Both Kano and Hinoto, they were viewing Kotori's dreams and the other dreams that she had in volume 1, where she's like, if I gotta choose between me and the earth, like break me, I don't want nothing to happen to the earth. So they're kind of just like, oh, okay, this is the role Kotori is playing. And they also see that Kotori sees and identifies that there are 2 Kamuis. Hinata's kind of like to Kano, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you gathering the 7 angels? And Kano tells her that she's actually doing it for Hinata's sake. Then we jump into volume 8. So volume 8, definitely off the bat, so far has to be one of my favorite volumes of X. I just so much I'm gonna just show y'all my notes real quick. Like, that's on volume 8. I just had so many thoughts and so many notes. The Clamp School detectives, they arrived to pick up Kamui and the sword, and, you know, they're like, oh man, we arrived kind of late. Now, this is where I told you guys that Clamp School detectives, Duck Leon, you know, this all occurs in the same universe. So it's so interesting, and I will show you guys in a little bit, show you how this is going to be, like, how they look grown. They just look so good grown up. So Kakio, the dream seer in quotes, we flash back to some scenes of him. Finally, Kakio, in his visions, we the audience see, this is the first time that we see the second Kamui is going to be Fuma. Because in Konoe's visions, we see her kind of being like, you need to stop Kamui. But this is the first time that we see the reflection where it's Kamui, and then in the water, we see Fuma. He's the first one to identify and then to tell us, the audience, explicitly, like, Fuma, you the one. But we just don't know how yet. Finally, and this is why this is my favorite, Seishiro and Subaru, they finally meet, because we learned that the Nakano events, Nakano falling down and Nakano being destroyed, Seishiro did that. Obviously, who else? Because he the one. And they just fight. I said super homoerotic angst. Like, they come through. Subaru is lighting Seishiro's cigarette. Like, he has not seen him since the events in Tokyo Babylon, and he's actually been searching for him this whole time. So they're having this whole fight. In the meantime, we see Nakano, the actual man-made being. We kind of get a flashback to the lab where Nakato is, and they have the first sacred sword. So the sacred sword that they have, and then the sacred sword that Kamui have, the swords start crying because they have feelings. Back at the Clamp School Academy, the detectives, that's what I'm just going to call them, the detectives play a video that Tokiko left for Kamui, and the video is like, Kamui, you have to make a choice. You have a choice, and I want you to think about this choice and do what is best for you. So she's explicitly saying, like, you need to do what's best for you, kind of regardless of outside influences. So then, I guess while they're at the school, like, stuff happens so fast, and you be so into the story that you don't know where. But Kamui ends up going somewhere alone to think, and Fuma and Kotori kind of join him. And Kamui says, like, I wish to live in a world where Fuma and Kotori, they could be happy. Pa que fue eso, coño? That line, I want Fuma and Kotori to be happy, that was it. That was the trigger. Of course, Clamp is going to make the trigger something so fucking cute to just rip your heart to shreds. So he says that instantly, Fuma's taken over by the spirit of the other Kamui. And he explains that his purpose was actually just to fill a void. And he is filling the void that is made when Kamui chooses a side. He is the twin star, so he automatically chooses that other side and is going to be against Kamui. Then the visions that are finally, we've seen 10,000 times, finally happen. Fuma strings up Kotori in a cross-like symbolism where she is strung up, and then she has all these wires on her. Then Fuma takes Kamui and pins him by his hand, so he's kind of like this and he can't do anything. And then, and I'm gonna show you guys these clips once I'm done with summary 9, but he is like all over him, very again homoerotic, very sexual, and it's just like, whoa, what in the world? Then Fuma takes the sacred sword and he stabs Kotori through the heart. And that is how volume 8 ends. So, right immediately, we're jumping into volume 9. So Kotori dies. She's dead. She's strung up. And Fuma is about to kill Kamui. And then somebody takes over Kotori's body and stops him and tells him, like, don't do that. And he listens and he stops. Then we learn that Kakio was actually asked by Kotori to do that. And it's very weird because, like I said, when Kotori initially comes out of that dream-like state, like, she's very childlike. But then in the flashback with Kakio, she's like very mature, and she tells him, like, hey, I know that the real Fuma would be absolutely destroyed if he knows that he killed Kamui, and I don't want that to happen. And I want you to let them know that I love them both very much. We have that. Kamui immediately, obviously, goes into a state of trauma. We flash forward where, you know, he's back somewhere. He's in bed. He's actually holding, I don't know why they let this man do this. He is holding Kotori's decapitated head and just cradling it, and he's sitting there lost in his, like, he's gone. So Subaru uses these powers that we actually saw him exhibit in Tokyo Babylon, and he goes into that dream state to pull Kamui out. And in pulling Kamui out, he kind of like sees, and this is so popular in, like, I don't know, because I've seen it in Clamp, but I also kind of saw it in a different work where they go back, but, like, the person in the dreamlike state is the child version of who it is. So he actually is with child Kamui, and he tells him, like, listen, like, I was in a very similar situation. I mean, our pains aren't the same because we had different events, but I know what you feel. But if you do not, I'm emotional because really emotional. But if you do not snap out of it, you can't, like, time doesn't go forward. If you stay here, you can't do anything. And you can't try and make it better or anything like that. So he does end up pulling Kamui out. The whole time this is happening, we later see that Fuma tracks down Kakio. And Kakio is really a being who's, like, in a bed, in, like, mad wires and stuff like that, like, health not all there. And they kind of see this happening, the whole Subaru and Kamui thing. As that happens, Kamui, you know, he snaps out of it. Subaru brings him back, and then they all kind of meet up, and they're like, hey, we're all the 7 seals, and they all introduce ourselves. Meanwhile, Kakio and Fuma are like, you're gonna fulfill my wish. And then Hinata collapses because she's like, what the hell's happening with everything and this Dream Seer? Like, the Dream Seer, we don't know, like, what his powers or his capabilities are. And then volume 9 ends. Before I jump into my thoughts, because clearly there is a lot of them, I'm going to show you some of my favorite scenes. And this, of course, had a lot of them because it is what it is. Okay, so we're going to have my baby. Like, I hate this man, but we have him here. And then we see Subaru, who no longer wears gloves, and we see the mark of the Sakurazuka on him. We have their reunion. Look at that. He comes through, and look at him. Like, this bitch got the nerve to be smiling like that. And then this is what I'm talking about. Like, this, look at this homo. Look at him lighting that. Look at all this sexy ass tension between them. He lights the cigarette and then he's gonna grab his hand. No, sir. No, sir. No. Here's what I'm talking about with Fuma and Kamui. Like, why? Look at him, all up on him, touching his face. Look at this one. Sir, what are you doing? Sir, what is this? What villain be all up in your face like that? So this part here, I mean, y'all saw in my Tokyo Babylon video, I was in shambles. This part here, I was sobbing. I was crying so hard. Subaru is walking Kamui through his own past, and this is his memory of Seishiro killing Hokuto, his sister. And then Kamui runs. Here's the tears. Kamui runs, and then Subaru says, You can't run fast enough to save her. This is my memory. Wrong hand. This is my memory. You can't run fast enough to save her. When I'm telling you, pain, you can't run fast enough to save her, just lets me know that Subaru has been having these flashbacks, and he recognized himself that no matter how many times he revisits this, he himself can't run fast enough to save her, much less, now Kamui viewing this. This so far has been my favorite, but especially volume 8 and volume 9. The pain, and I love the pain, so I'm enjoying it. I wanted to show you guys the Clamp School detectives all grown up. Like, look at them. They're just so grown and happy. And they're not happy. This situation was awful. What am I talking? Just some of these scenes, y'all, just absolutely tear me apart. And just when Subaru's bringing Kamui back, he says, "Come back to us now." Tears. Let's get into my thoughts. I have a lot, but I don't have as many. But I definitely had some groundbreaking thoughts. So, of course, Kotori dying is very sad. But what really brings me sadness with the Kotori situation is that she is so powerful, but unfortunately she dies before her real powers are awakened. Like this dream seeing capabilities, kind of like her with the prophecies and kind of seeing that. And part of it is because of her trauma, and due to her trauma, she is so funny because it's she's portrayed so beautifully and childlike. She has all these this darkness that has none of it is her fault. So it was just very weird to me. And I get it. She's a sacrificial person. It happens, and that always was going to be her role. But it was just kind of heartbreaking to see that right before she dies, she's acting this deranged way. But then you see in that moment with Kakio, she's in full cognizance, and it's this is the way that it has to be. Because really, she sacrificed herself not for the world. She sacrificed herself for Kamui because she loved Kamui. Another interesting point that Clamp alludes to that obviously we're going to see explored more is Kanoi's motives for getting the 7 angels. Now, I'm going to say this I just be based on the line, and here's where it gets interesting for me because I cannot distinguish whether this is my memory coming into play, this is confirmed, or I'm just putting together everything I know from Clamp and making this assumption. I feel like it's a little bit of both, but Kanoi basically makes it clear she's doing this for Hinoto, and I don't know if this is actually gonna happen. Maybe we'll have to be confirmed in a future video because I haven't read further, is that she wants to free Hinoto because Hinoto's at the bottom of the diet building just being the dream seer for these politicians. So I think that's what we're going to put a pin on in for now. Obviously, and this was the biggest, this hit me like a ton of bricks because up until this point, I didn't put 2 and 2 together until Fuma said the lines, "My purpose is to fill the void that your choice leaves." And that is something that we see Clamp explore later down the line in Savasa/XXX Holic with the Shaorons and with Watanuki, because Watanuki, spoiler alert for X, Watanuki was created to fill the void that Shaoran left when he decided to save Sakura. And I was just motherfucker, what? How did I never put 2 and 2 together? And I'm just like, where was I? And now I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. The first, and I may have to just compare volumes, but I did read volume X9, the Viz translation, but I read the old version. So hold on, let me pull it out. The old translations use the term harbingers for the angels, I believe. The translation is different because I'm the twin star, the other Kamui, born to fill the void when you choose to become either dragon of heaven or dragon of earth. So this is the English translation from the 90s. So there's that one. Look at me doing this investigative journalism on scene. Here he says, I am your twin star, the second Kamui. I was born to fill the void that formed when you choose between heaven and earth. These are obviously flipped, but there's a difference in the language there. I didn't remember the language, to be honest. So yes, what triggered my mind specifically was the use of the void. I was born to fill that void that was created. I was like, but am I having an aneurysm? I had a whole just mind fuck of like, oh my god, all these themes and clamps of having the two Shaorons and the voids, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be another instance of this because I feel like there is. I just cannot remember it. But Clamp also has all these like twin, Chobits, Faye's and his twin, and in XXX Holic there's also the twins. Like twins and clones, these always play a role in Clamp's universes. So that to me is going to be very interesting to see play out. We get into this parallel, which I feel like is just going to be deep dive more into the future volumes, and that is the parallel with Kamui and Fuma and Subaru and Seishiro. We see when Subaru pulls Kamui out of his trauma state that he tells him like, hey, like, if you're able to save Fuma and get the Fuma that you know and love back, he is going to be absolutely devastated that he killed Kotori. Are you willing to tell him that like you killed Kotori and to take that blame so that he doesn't feel that pain? And Kamui says yes. Which, first of all, like, I don't know what's more painful, you killing your own sister or your best friend that I think you're secretly in love with killing your sister. Both are bad options. Both are terrible options. And then we see Fuma, like, cause it's very weird, right? Like, it's this weird triangle where Kotori loved Kamui and Kamui loved Kotori. I don't know if the love, like, were they in love with each other? Yes, I think so. But then I also think Kamui's in love with Fuma. Like, was he in love with both of them? Is it going to be more clear as it goes on? I can't remember. So I'm really hoping that yes. So it's a parallel, of course, because and this is why I'm thinking that one of those loves, his love for Kotori and his love for Fuma had to be different, because if you parallel Subaru and Seishiro and Hokuto, how did I miss Subaru and Hokuto in the twin theme? Anyways, when you factor in that Seishiro, Subaru, and Hokuto, obviously Hokuto and Subaru are twins, their love is a sibling bond, closer than most because they're twins, but then Subaru was in love with Seishiro, and the two people that he loved most, the man that he's in love with killed his twin sister. Like, so, and Subaru says himself, like, our stories are different, but those parallels are there where it's just like, damn, that makes me think that Kamui loved Kotori, but I don't think, like, I part of me feels like he was actually, like, loved Kotori in like a familial way and was in love with Fuma. Maybe he was in love with both of them. Maybe he was in love with none of them. But those are just my personal feelings on this. And it's going to be very interesting now to see the rest of the volumes. And, he is going to be desperately trying to get that old Fuma back. Can he get the old Fuma back? We don't know, because it didn't continue. It's not done. It's never gonna be done. But yeah, that brings that interesting point of like, what's gonna happen? And it's just, it's very heartbreaking to see that he's gonna take that responsibility of killing Kotori, but it's either that, but then like, my thing is like, what if Fuma were to snap out of it and remember that he is the one who killed Kotori? Is Kamui gonna be like, actually, no, I did? Like, so many hypotheticals, but Kamui has made the choice to move forward, and his goal is to save Fuma. And yeah, this entire omnibus definitely has to be, like I said, my favorite from so far from the story, and it is up to where my memory goes on what is happening, what is going to happen moving forward. I absolutely do not remember. I may remember like key moments, but yeah, I'm excited. I am nervous because I know I kind of remember Subaru and Seishiro's final like battle with each other, and it's just a lot. It's definitely a lot. But I'm so like this, the talent that Clamp has and the story that they're weaving, again, just makes me sad that I know that it's not finished, because they did so much laying down the groundwork for what was to come. And it was like, what was it all in vain? Like, do y'all have the story somewhere? Who gonna release these files? Like, this is the files that I need released. This is the information that needs to be leaked, because I need to know what happens. This has been a very emotional journey, and I am, of course, so excited to see where the next 3 volumes of the next 3 omnibus takes us. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next one. Peace.